Hello everyone, I'm Meena Noronha and I'm back with another episode of Walk the Special Path. Today we have a wonderful and distinguished guest with us today. She's going to speak on inclusion. Welcome Dr. Rosa Nimmy Mathew to our show.
Thank you, ma'am.
Dr. Rosa Mathew is a PhD in psychology. She is also a MSc Counselling, School of Social Work, Roshni, Nilaya. She is presently working as an assistant professor in counselling at School of Social Work, Roshni, Nilaya, Mangalore. She is also teaching basic psychology and counselling for PGDC at School of Social Work, Roshni, Nilaya, Mangalore. She is a resource person for Honeycomb Montessori on child development and child psychology. She is also a freelancer as a counsellor. So it's really wonderful to have you with us today, ma'am. We are going to speak about inclusion. When it comes to special needs children, we have seen they are like an outcast. In the mainstream society, we can't rarely find such special needs children. So today I think it's a moral duty of each and every one of us to treat them as equals and to include them in our society. Then only we can make and form a beautiful and inclusive society. So doctor, first question to you would be, what exactly is inclusion? How would you describe inclusion as?
Okay. So when we talk about inclusion, it's a very broad term. We might have heard inclusive society, inclusive education. It is the concept of embracing each one irrespective of their gender, caste, disability or any other medical condition. So in broader term, you are not excluding anyone. Everybody with their differences are part of the society.
Okay. I think because people always think inclusion is just inside the classroom. But I think what you said is inclusion everywhere.
Yes.
That's very important. Today's need of the hour it is inclusion of all these special needs children. So why is this concept of inclusion necessary in today's society with respect to children with special needs?
Okay. So now when we talk about inclusion, I mentioned initially that it is an inclusive society. To create an inclusive society, it starts from the life of a child.
Okay.
You have a child who is born irrespective of whatever the condition is. It was not by a choice.
Yes.
The child is born like that and it was not even a choice of a parent.
True.
Right? So it is the duty and responsibility of the society to create a better world for them.
Yes, very true, ma'am.
So from the time they are born, it can be like maybe taking them to a park or taking them to a play station or enrolling them to a nursery, kindergarten or daycare. Are we equipped to include them too?
Yes, yeah.
What are the facilities do we have to include them? Are we trained enough to include them?
Okay. Yes.
To add on to it, to your question, like is it important or why is it important? We hear a lot of intolerance or unacceptability in the adulthood. From where does it start? It all begins from the childhood.
Yes.
How comfortable are children to accept someone who is different or slightly different from what they are, maybe in their speech or in their look or in their height or in their color? So inclusion is a concept which prepares children to be sensitive to each other, respect each other with their difference.
Very nicely put, ma'am. That's really beautiful. I think everybody needs to know that, we have to start at the very beginning, teach our own children to accept others.
Yes.
So I think we can start it from our individual homes.
Yes.
So I think there are a lot of challenges when we talk about inclusiveness. So could you tell us something about what are the challenges, basic challenges we face to inclusiveness?
One of the most important and significant one which I would mention is lack of awareness. People are unaware, first of all, what are the challenges faced by a child who is with special needs. That is one thing. Second one, they are not aware of what is this inclusion.
True.
Okay. And there is also a belief within our society saying that if they are slightly different from us, then they are strangers.
Yes.
Okay. So there is a completely closed door approach towards them. Like, why should we talk to them? Why should we even entertain them? Or what is the purpose of allowing them to sit next to us?
Yes.
Okay. They are considered as a nuisance or someone who creates trouble, maybe in the society, or it can be even attending a function. I have also seen parents hesitating to take because they are shamed for
Right,
what is
right.
happening.
Yes, I've seen many parents, those who don't want to take their children out.
Yes, yes. So parent shaming is also something that we have seen or heard common among this. Why is your child behaving like this? Haven't you disciplined them well?
Yes, yes, we have seen that much.
Yes, yes.
So I think Indian community, I think basically parents have this really, they are ashamed, and yes, we always think what others are going to think
Yes,
about us.
yes.
So society fear is there.
Yes.
So I think that's a big barrier for
Yes,
us.
yes. And also attitude towards acceptance, like, is it okay? Will it create a trouble
Right.
to us? And also unpreparedness. How prepared are we to, handle those situations,
Right.
both from the parent side as well as people who are around them.
I think yes, we need to create more awareness
Yes.
and literacy towards this.
Yes, yes.
So, ma'am, when it comes to special needs, there are particular stigmas.
Yeah.
So, what are the stigma associated particularly with the special needs?
Okay. So when we talk about special need, some things are, we can call it as an invisible disability. Like, we
Yes.
are not able to identify what actually is not fine.
Fine,
Like,
right.
maybe certain situations, certain behaviors are triggered, certain emotions or certain reactions are triggered. It is not consistent all the time.
Yes.
Okay, that is one factors. So invisibility, if the parents say that my son is having autism spectrum, coming under the autism spectrum, then we cannot have him. If they don't say why the child is behaving because of autism, it is because of autism spectrum, then you have not trained your child. So there is some kind of double blinds associated with acceptance of whether the behavior or the special need disability itself.
True.
Okay, that is one thing. Another stigma I would say is like, how is it going to affect people in general? Is it okay? Will my child or will my children, son and daughter also will pick up certain behavior?
Yes.
Okay, so there is some kind of fear, hesitation, lack of awareness, as well as kind of double blinds. And I also would like to add that parent shaming is also one of the stigmas. So that is something which is preventing parents to come out,
True.
bring their children out, expose their children to different situation. Maybe like we can see how many parents would take their special need children for a swimming class
Right.
or karate class. They have the ability to learn all those skills. So there can be barriers which are internal, coming from the parents, and there are also barriers which are external,
It's
which
very
is coming
difficult
from
to
the
find,
society.
as you said, difficult to find teachers also
Yes.
to teach, because to teach music to special needs children, it's very difficult.
Yes.
The child may be very intelligent, genius, but you can't find teachers who are patient and kind enough to
Yes.
teach the children maybe sports or maybe any of these things.
Yes, yes.
And again, I think what you said, ma'am, according to that stigma, there are even some special needs centers who are not ready to take a child with behaviors. I personally have seen, because I have a son with autism. Most of the centers, they will say we are not taking adult children, or they are not going to take autism children, or anybody who has behavioral issue. I think we need to change this exactly, and it's a big challenge for us
Yes,
to change
yes.
that. But
It's
we
a
can-
challenge, but it is not impossible.
Right. I think we need to come together for such things. So, ma'am, how can we break this stigma? Maybe one at a time, or how can we break these?
Okay. As we saw earlier, or as we explored earlier, like lack of awareness is something which is one of the major barriers. Creating awareness among different walks of society. Like, it need not be just adults or school community, across. Like maybe how you organized an autism walk. Yeah. So there are more people who are becoming aware of it. So awareness is something. And also different stakeholders can take responsibility. Like, sometimes you as a parent has taken an initiative from schools, from maybe women and child department. So different people can come together, collaborate to break the stigma. So awareness is one thing that we can do, and also talk lot about it. So this is something which is shied away from talking about. Why should we give importance to this? There are not many children who fall into this category, or not many adults who fall into category. So not many people are talking about it, or this is something only the special education center has to deal with it. So it should not be something like that. So everybody needs to explore, talk, bring awareness, and contribute from their side what they can do to their best. So I feel this is something that we can start as a first step.
Start with small children,
Yes.
learn to accept, if you start that and maybe make a subject in the school, I think, inclusiveness or special needs children, I think that would be better, ma'am. What
Yes,
do you say?
sensitivity to
Yes.
others, to everyone, irrespective of the difference they have.
True. I
Yes.
think every child, if they are taught in the school only at the basic level, when they grow up, they themselves will be, better persons, as well as they will accept these children better.
Yes, sure.
I think yes, I think together we need to come together to learn more, to accept more, and then only we can, break this stigma and form an inclusive community for our special ones. So ma'am, and my next question will be, what is the role of education in inclusion?
Okay. So when we talk about inclusive society, it starts from inclusive education.
True.
Okay. When we talk about inclusive education, it is not just having a child with special needs in the classroom. So we have different types of inclusion. You have full inclusion, you have individualized educational programs, you have partial inclusion, you also have the concept of mainstreaming. Okay. So when we talk about inclusive education in school, how prepared are school to address this?
Yes, very true.
So how prepared is our teaching and learning methodology? Not just having a classroom or the child with special needs in the classroom. How equipped are the teachers? How equipped is our curriculum as well as the methodologies to give education to all?
Right.
It is learning for all, learning together.
Right.
So I think the role of education begins here, and this is when it comes to academic inclusion. When we talk about physical inclusion, how prepared is the classroom? Facilities. How prepared, maybe if you look at the washrooms, can they include these children? What about the playground? Every aspect, the learning methods, you have visual learning, you have smart classes, the place they sit, the number of students in the classroom, everything matters.
Right.
This is when it comes to physical inclusion. You also have social inclusion. They are going back to society. So the glimpse of the society is classroom. You have children from all walks of life. So they get an opportunity to interact, build their social skills, understand how the world works.
Right.
So when we talk about inclusion in education, there is physical, academic as well as social inclusion.
Right.
So this is the role which education will play.
Okay. I think educating people is very important as well as the children in
Yes.
schools. So ma'am, you really think in today's community, maybe in Mangalore, Karnataka, this inclusive education is possible? In India, I think when you compare to other countries, we are still lagging behind when it comes to these mainstreaming the special needs children. And inclusive education, as you mentioned to us, is very important. So you think, is it possible?
Okay. It is possible, yes, with the barriers. There are lots of hurdles which an institution or a teacher or a parent, even a child has to cross to call or to say that to have a full inclusion. But it is possible. I would say it is definitely possible. If you look into the models of inclusive schools or schools which have started inclusive education across India, I'm sure that we will get around 90 to 100 schools which have been successfully following inclusive education for past 20 years. And there are new schools who are adding on to it. But when it comes to rest of the institution, we cannot say that they are completely closed towards it. Maybe they are trying out with integration, trying out with mainstreaming. So I have also come across institution where they have tried out for 2 years, then they are not able to handle the situation, or they are not skilled enough to continue further, so they drop out the plan. So there has been initiation, but I feel we need to prepare. The preparation is
There are
something which
many
is
drawbacks,
lacking. Yes, yes. So how prepared the teacher is, how prepared our curriculum is, what is the teaching and learning methodology to equip these children, include them also. And I have also come across schools where they include children with special needs for art or craft classes, sports, but not during the curriculum hour. Yeah.
Yes.
So there is some attempts that is happening, but not a full-fledged inclusion. Compared to last 10 years, I feel things are slowly changing, but I think we need to speed up the process.
I think very slow. It's what's
Very
happening
slow.
because especially these children are not finding, because there is like I'll give you an example in Mangalore Stadium swimming pool. Special children, normal children in the same pool, same timing, but it is difficult there because the special children cannot compete with these normal children. They need separate timings. So I think we need to extend it to classrooms, to sports, to other fields.
Yes.
Then only it's possible. So ma'am, I think as you mentioned all these points, I would ask, why is inclusiveness very important in early childhood?
Okay. So lot of social and cognitive development takes place in the early childhood, and it is also a phase of life where children learn socialization. Okay. And they also learn they understand the rules, norms of the society, how things work, what is okay, what is not okay, as well as the right and wrongs. The initial moral learning also takes place. So this is a right time to have an inclusive education where they understand that we all are one.
Right.
Okay, irrespective of their differences, irrespective of whatever challenges they are going through, still she is my friend, he is my friend, we can walk hand in hand. Okay, so that is the right time they will understand, and they can take this up further as they grow or as they move on to the higher classroom. So sensitivity is something that is developed during this phase. They become aware of what is happening around them, and this also helps them to equip skills. They also learn how to deal or how to interact when there is crisis or when there is certain changes that is happening. So all these skills children pick up early, and they are not coming with a bias.
Right, that's very true.
They are not
I
coming
think
with
in
a
that
bias.
stage acceptance is more easier than when you become adults. Young children, you know, they embrace very easily.
Yes.
So I think that's very important in early childhood.
Yes.
And these children, especially these children also, I think they learn from imitation from these other ones. So it's more easier for them also. So yes, I think to all the parents out there, inclusive education is very important, especially in early childhood. Try to get your children to mix up, especially the families who do not have a special needs child. Please see that your child also learns to accept and understand these little ones. So ma'am, I think in the school rooms today, in Indian school rooms or around Karnataka, you can find there are so many challenges because we are not equipped or we don't have facilities. So what are the some challenges which the teachers will face in a special needs inclusive classroom?
Okay. So when we talk about inclusive education, all children are under one roof, learning at the same time. Okay. So now how equipped teacher is to use different teaching and learning methodology. Like, you know, if I may be taking up maths, so I have a child who might have difficulty in understanding maths in my class. I will also have a child who is an advanced learner in my class. Yeah, gifted in the class. So I need to cater to both their needs. So I need to bring in teaching and learning methodologies or methods which will interest both. So now when we talk about children with special need, it is not because of low intelligence, or it may not because of lack of motivation too. When we talk specifically about learning disability, it is only that their way of conceptualizing or taking up the concept is different. So our teaching methods need to change. Okay, so the teacher need to be prepared to bring in new methods rather than the regular teaching modes which they are following, and also building up a relationship, positive relationship in the classroom. We cannot have just an authoritarian or a relationship there. It need to be more of a participatory model where we go to their level, only then we are able to bring out the learning. And also the size of the classroom, number of students in the class, that also matters, and it also becomes a challenge for a teacher.
I think nowadays classrooms, like there's competition to finish the portion. And I don't blame the teachers because the system is like that. I think we need to change the system only. It's not about how much you learn, it's about how we learn. The quality is important than quantity. I think everybody should understand that. Then only we can have more inclusive. But then, parents blame the teachers. Okay, the teacher is not giving attention. But it's not her fault exactly. It's the education system is like that. Isn't it, ma'am?
Along with this education system, as you mentioned that, ma'am, the entire reframing needs to take place. Our national educational policy talks about inclusion. It is the implementation which becomes challenging, and structure, policies, the skills, as well as preparedness of the institution to take up. So all these matters have to fall in place simultaneously.
Go together, hand in hand.
Yes, go hand in hand.
Right. Very true. Thank you, ma'am, for that. But now again, I would like to come to a point is we see many, we think about having children in classrooms, inclusiveness. But there are children who face a lot of learning disabilities. So you think how can we include special needs children having learning disabilities inside a classroom?
Okay. So when we talk about children with learning disability, I would like to make society aware that they are not someone who is with lack of motivation or low intelligence. Both these are high. Only thing is their ability for academic learning is a challenge. Okay. So more than encouraging them, motivating them, it is way of teaching and learning that needs to change. Okay. So when we have a child with learning disability or learning issues, we have to bring in multimodal learning methods in the classroom. So you need to have visual learning strategies, auditory learning strategies. You need to break down the entire unit into smaller subunits, smaller concepts, so they are able to pick up. So people think that repeating the content would help them. No, you have to reframe the entire content so they are able to learn based on their strength.
Okay.
So that is something that can be done in the classroom. And also we also have seen that there are schoolroom teacher. There is a main classroom. The teacher is teaching. At the same time, maybe the child is not able to pick up at that moment. So you can also have a support teacher, or we can have a shadow teacher who can step in at that phase to fill in the gap.
Right.
And then step out. So the child is also learning independently to handle the situation. And you also include individualized educational program where the special educator, the teacher, parent, as well as the other therapist who are involved with the child work together to help the child to go along with other children in the classroom.
Yes, true.
Yeah. So again, it is working of all the stakeholders together. Yes.
I think it's a lot of work, but we need to do that.
Yes.
It's wonderfully put, ma'am. Thank you. Again, we'll come back to ma'am. Like now we have heard about inclusion. So some will confuse integration. So how different are these two? Like what's the basic difference between integration and inclusion as such?
Okay. So when we talk about inclusion, it is embracing all in the same classroom.
Right.
So the teacher is teaching, let's say the teacher is teaching about a poem in the classroom. So all the children, irrespective of what their challenges are, they are learning at the same time. Okay. When we are talking about integrated education system, you include children with special need in the school, but you are not including them when you are teaching. Like your teaching methodologies are not reaching out to them. You are not learning, your inputs are not reaching to the child. So it is just that you have included the child, or you prepare the examinations, or your examinations models are all facilitating the child, but not still a complete inclusion, because the child is not learning along with the other children in the classroom.
It's a partial inclusion.
Yeah, partial inclusion. We can say integration is partial inclusion. And there are also schools, they appoint special educators. So the academic hours, the child is with the special educator, only the child comes during the other hours. Or
particular periods they can attend, like maybe games or...
Yes, I had one of my client, the child used to attend only in the afternoons. The light periods are in the afternoon. So the daytime, the mother sends the child to a special educator, the child learn, and afternoon come back to school. So the social skills and other activities are learnt in the classroom, academics outside the classroom.
That's a really good, I think, first time I'm hearing that is happening in Mangalore, because I've not heard about it, and it's good to know that
Yeah.
it's happening somewhere, even at some level at least. It's so good. And I think we need to have at least integration at the beginning before
Yes.
inclusion.
Yes.
Maybe for games, like, we can have some buddy programs. We can have some integrated programs, like maybe once a week, twice a week for these children. You think you agree with me that could
Yes.
work, ma'am?
Surely it would work. It is also an exposure for the children. At the same time, people also become sensitive. People also learn acceptance through these programs. It will also help the parents to come out of their shell. And
Right.
I have seen lot of parents. I am also a mother, ma'am. I may not be a mother of a child who is special
Right.
needs. I understand how difficult it is as a parent when you are being criticized for your child's behavior, which you may not have a choice for. So when it comes to a parent of a child with special needs, they might be going through their own challenges and barriers. So more exercises outside the home would help them come out of this shell, and more support they would
Right.
get.
It's very,
Yes.
yes, well put, ma'am. So I think when we see today's society, so what degree of inclusiveness is there in our society, ma'am? I know right now we are in Mangalore or in Karnataka, you say. What percentage, what degree of inclusiveness is existing already?
Okay. So, ma'am, specifically, I would bring in the concept of inclusive education in Karnataka. So, one of the surveys which was done last in 2019 on inclusive education in Karnataka, they identified that it is only 17 to 26%. Okay, and this is only based on number of participants who were part of this particular survey. So now it creates a clear barrier, like what is the gap.
Right.
Okay,
It's
so
a
what
very, very
happens? Yeah,
huge
what
gap.
happens to the rest of the children? Where are they? Who is doing the follow up? What happens to them after they move out of? Even there might be percentage of children who are going to special schools. What happens after that?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So here we can say, here I can also point out that not much greater level, but there has been attempts that is happening recently with awareness that is being raised in the society.
First thing is we need to create more of awareness
Yes.
through these programs, like we are having this talk. We're trying to create awareness, reach out to so many people out there who are still not in accepting mode, So if we all come together, maybe we can work towards inclusiveness, at least to integration, at least for a partial. We start with something like that, partial inclusion. Then maybe soon we'll get a society which is inclusive.
Yes.
Hopefully. Ma'am, now as you are a professor, you are doing so much work at Roshni Nilaya as well as a freelancer. What is your contribution to society, and are you satisfied with your profession?
Okay. By profession, I am a lecturer. At the same time, I practice counseling as it is my passion, ma'am. So, any opportunity that I get which addresses stigma associated with disability, I don't miss that.
That's wonderful, ma'am. Thank you.
Opportunity. And I also see that it is very important. I also focus on this concept of support group for parents.
Okay.
Right, so that is also another area which I would like to work on. Like, we have a family counseling center in our institution, School of Social Work, Roshni, Nilaya. We are also coming up with a framework where we can have a continuous support group for parents, especially
that's
for
wonderful.
children with special needs, where they get an opportunity or a platform for them to come share, because group is a place where they can learn. So by profession, yes, I am very much satisfied with what I work as a lecturer as well as a counselor, and I also feel that there is much more to do. Right, and as I mentioned, every opportunity I get to work in this area, this is something that I would love to do and contribute.
That's wonderful,
back.
ma'am, and we are really happy that you could come with us and do this show, because we need people like you who are very passionate, and maybe through these, we can reach out to more and more people out there. So now as we come, we are all from Mangalore, Karnataka. So ma'am, what would you suggest, like how can we make Mangalore or Karnataka an inclusive community?
Okay.
What few things we could do at the basic level? How can we start with?
Okay. as I mentioned, ma'am, one is awareness to a greater public. The second one is we can also you approach the stakeholders who are in policy making. Like, you know, when it comes to education or planning the infrastructure, or we can also see number of parks by itself is reduced, and how many parks are friendly,
Yes,
friendly for
friendly.
children with special needs, and as well as how comfortably they can be in that particular
Right.
space is also another area. And what are the other play opportunity for children, if not park, what are the other
Right.
opportunities? So working with stakeholders, working with schools, working with parents, and also building awareness, that is something that we can
Right.
bring. And students of psychology is something that you can also use as a resource, ma'am.
Right.
As they are already aware of what is happening, they can be a messengers to
Right.
reach out to a larger public. So exploring the need assessment survey,
Right.
like what is the percentage, we don't know what is the current percentage of children who are with special needs, how many attend inclusive schools, how many are going for special, how many are at home.
Right.
Yeah. So all this can be something that we can start initially, and then based on the results that we get, plan our
Right.
framework for next action.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, before we leave, I would like to ask, like, what message would you like to give to News Karnataka?
I would like to thank News Karnataka, first of all, creating a platform here to talk about inclusion, and also to address the needs of children with a special need. That is a big appreciation for News Karnataka to take up this initiative. And I feel that a larger population need to reach, this message has to reach a larger population, and I hope that these series of episode would sensitize people, would sensitize society, and we will open our minds as well as our hearts towards inclusion.
Yeah, that's wonderfully kept. Means like open not only our minds, like, but our hearts. I
Yes.
think that's very important. If we open up our hearts to welcome and embrace these children, I think we can work a long way.
Yes.
And to all those families out there struggling with special needs children, there are challenges, but never lose hope, never give up. We let us all together come together and try for at least partial inclusives at beginning. Those who will say normal children or typical normal. Let us embrace a special needs child. Let us give them a smile, meet them, talk to them. Maybe we can try, as you know, I'm looking for some buddies program where a normal child, a special needs child, they put together for some time. We could do such programs for a special family and a normal family, spend some time together, maybe outside the classroom at the beginning, and slowly we can, reach out to a bigger society and form an inclusive Mangalore inclusive society as such. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us today and give us so much information about inclusiveness. Hope it reaches out to so many families out there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.